Good evening, it's Dr. Johnson, big homie. We're in the house, we're in the building, and I just want to talk to you all today about parental involvement and how we can have the parents involved, our men involved. So this is Dr. Johnson, big homie, talking to the men and also to the families and to the different organizations at this time that may be looking to increase the involvement of men in raising their children, whether it be black men, white men, brown, Asian, or red. You know, we all need our men to be involved with rearing our children. Way too often, way too many times, we have strong women who are raising strong families by themselves. So the idea, is to increase the participation, get our men to be present in the lives of our children. And with that being the case, it's always, just for starters, for one, it's always child first. Your children come before you and everything else that may be going on in your life. They were not asked to be here. There were some things that we have done as adults that they're now here. And once the child arrives to what we call planet Earth, the Earth portal, then we as the man, we have to put our children's needs before our own, before ourselves. It's a baby, it's a child that we're raising. And at some point, it rolls a switch. They'll take care of us. But from birth, we take care of them. And as far as that goes, just adding on to it, what is parental involvement? And based on my research, it's one of the top practices that we can do to increase the chances of a student or a child having a good quality of life. It's having our men involved and having them present. And there's so many reasons why men are not involved. And we're not going to go into all the different reasons why men are not involved, but there's some factors that we got to consider. We got to keep in mind that these are factors that have led to the absence of men in relationships and involvement with their children. And one of the number one things that I've recognized with my experience over the years as an educator is the relationships. That's bottom line. And without those relationships, there's not a whole lot that can be done. And those relationships, they start with the mother and father, just like the child started with the mother and the father. And with those relationships, then either it's going to help that child or it's going to hold that child back or stall that progress because there's a lack of communication or not a relationship or a damaged relationship between parents. So that's one of the first reasons are the relationships. And secondly, are the finances, money. A lot of dads are not involved because they feel like they don't have any money or don't have anything to offer. They stay away. They feel inadequate. And we live in a society that if you're broke, if you don't have any money, you are worthless. And we got to cancel that now. You can, not have a dime in your pocket, but because you are present at your child's game or at your child's conference, there's more than what money can buy. That's more than, it's priceless. It's just your presence. So it has nothing, even though men have that role or have that thought that, I must provide for my child. I must provide for my family. And that's a good thing that men do have. But don't let that, your finances or lack of finances, keep you out of the active lives or being active in the lives of your children. And it's just something that men need to know and be aware of. Okay, and then thirdly, one of the biggest reasons that I've learned that men are just not present is the fact that, you know, sometimes men, we got to change this, but we put ourselves before our children. And that's something that we really got to think about. What do I mean? Well, what I've recognized with some dads is they're considering themselves, they're considering what the woman might have done or might have said, they're concerned about not having this and not having that, versus saying, I don't care what I have or what I don't have. If that's my child, I'm going to be present. If that's my child, I need to be present. If that's my child, I'm going to do whatever it takes to provide for my child. And a lot of dads just, you know, and I don't know what, but in one word, you know, it's selfish. You're putting yourself before your child. And it's something it can be selfish. And there's so many reasons why men have decided to be that way. And it's not just men, it's men and women. We're humans. We've all been selfish or done something selfish in life before. So it's no judgment. But please recognize when we're putting ourselves before the child. And when you see it, we got to call ourselves on it and say, hold up. I got to change this. My child's needs come before my own. And that's bottom line. That's from 0 to 18. But even as they get older than 18, we still have to provide and be present and help out our children. So those are some of the factors that has led to such the inaction of men. And then fourthly, there's also a system situation as well, a system factor. You know, a lot of our black men have been mass incarcerated. Many have been unemployed and denied employment. So all these factors lead to the inaction or the men being absent in these families. And it can be rough. It can be really rough. And just breaking it down, sometimes if a man or woman, if a man has dealt with racism in the workplace and, he should have or could have been doing this or that at a higher level, yet due to some system structures in place that as far as racism, that's locked that man out. Now he can't provide for his family at a higher level simply because of the color of his skin or the intimidation of what this young man or man can do. That impacts everything in that man's life or in that woman's life. So when you have those situations, these are factors, not excuses, but these are truly factors that need to be recognized as we move forward and include men into what we're doing. Okay? And then also, if you go even deeper, I got to go in the historical factor. Even during the times of slavery, black men had to disconnect from their families in a sense. Because at that time, you may have had a slave owner who would, take these women and a husband or a boyfriend or a father has to see his wife with someone else or his child being in a whole different, his child being, hurt by another man and there's nothing you can do. And at that time, I can't imagine, but only if I could imagine, that shuts a man down. Like from here on out, never can I love again. And just like diabetes or sickle cell passes on generations, that pain is passed on for generations, whether we recognize it or not. And if you think about ACEs, adverse childhood experiences, those are some of the same as PTSD as well. Some things that a man has experienced in this lifetime, he'll pass it on. And, whether on purpose or not on purpose, it passes itself on. So we got to be aware of all these different factors as we consider. And remember, this is no judgment. It's not for me to say if a man is right or wrong. I just want to put out the facts. These are the factors, and these are some things that we can do to change it. And that's just where we are with things right now. Okay? Also, just looking at the examples, we've already defined, in a sense, what parental involvement is: having a positive man in a child's life. And this is what's about. We're very thankful again for the women, strong women, but at this time we invite men to be more active, to be more involved in their child's life. And not every child has a daddy. As far as, the life expectancy of young black men is, in my area, the life expectancy is 25 for some of our young men. So you got to look at, the life expectancy, also mass incarceration. So with that, there's an absence. But for those who are present, those who are alive and are here to be full and to be present, be involved in your child's life in a positive way. Because if we don't raise our kids, who will? If we don't tell our son, hey man, hey fella, hey son, I love you. But if you do these certain things, there's natural consequences. If you continue this route, this is what will happen. If we don't break that down for our own child or children, who's going to do so? So I want to invite all men. That's why there's a Dr. Johnson Big Homie, because Big Homie is going to be is designed for those who don't have fathers in their lives. And even though for those who do have fathers, that father is that big homie. He's that mentor, that leader, that guide, that provider. That's what a father does. He's a natural. He's automatically a big homie. But when dad's absent, then we got to bring other men in the community, uncles, cousins, the older guy next door who's really looked out for the community. He may not even have any kids, but he's done all he can to be present and to make changes in the community for the children. So those are what positive role models can do. And, those are just some of the examples. Like you're riding in the car and you're talking to your son or your daughter, you can tell them things that won't be taught in the classroom. You can tell them things that others may not be thinking to tell, but your child needs to know about dating. Your child needs to know the dangers of the street life. Your child needs to know about scholarships, about networking, about how to carry yourself, about how to have values and principles, and how to have character before you have anything. This is what a positive role model can do for a family or for a child, and for students as well. So all of them. So just keep that in mind. And, it's also about your posture and the confidence. I know you've probably seen a person or whatever, and the difference that I can see in young men with men in their lives, or young boys with men in their lives, is the confidence and the posture. The way they, lean back with their shoulders back, their head up, they look you in the eye, they speak to you. There's a man in that young man's life. There's a elder in that young man's life to help him out and carry himself like that. Like for me, I had my dad. He was there for me, and I appreciate that. I had my uncles, I had my brothers, I had my cousins. I had several men. I had men in the community that have brought me to where I am today. So it does take a village. You have to include all the men into this picture, okay? So just keep that in mind. And, also with my story, I've had a child when I was young, and it was just automatic that, first of all, for one, my child comes before me in everything that we do. And if not, if I have to do something it's for the benefit of the child as well. So the child is still at the forefront of my thoughts and at the center of my heart. That child is first. So with that, I understand, and in relationships, it all start out with a relationship. You all may be dating, having the best time of life. and life happens, things happen, you all grow, you grow apart, but there's a children or a child at the center of this whole thing. So with that being the case, you got to grow and move forward. Like from here on out, I got to put this child before me. I know mama and I may be having conflict, but my child has nothing to do with that. My child needs, my child wants mom and dad both. That's what every child would like to have. But in some cases, it's just not possible. So just keep that in mind, okay? But always keep the child's needs ahead of yours. You take care of the children, and they'll take care of you. Think about that. And I'm not talking about now, but as we get older. As we age, we're going to need our children to help us to carry on. So just keep that in mind as well, okay? All right. And also, some of the things that, some of the solutions that we can bring to the table, some of the things that we can do, some of the best practices to involve dads and increase men participation in organizations and with families. For one, I really believe and strongly believe in restorative practices. Restorative practices is about relationship building and restoring relationships. So, for example, if mom and dad have had a falling out, they've decided to go their way. There's no judgment. The idea is to bring the mom and dad together to work on that relationship for the benefit of the child. It takes a group of 3 or 4. You all communicate one person at a time, express your feelings, express your thoughts, and then you all look for a win-win solution. I will be providing more training for restorative practices, RP practices at a later time, and I'll share that with you. Just please follow me on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and you'll hear more about the RP trainings for organizations, for families, professional businesses, also again for communities as well, community organizations. Just trying to build relationships and build people. Okay, with restorative practices, you can work on those relationships that have been damaged or that have been broken, and it's going to have to be a heart to heart. There might be some crying, some shaking voices, but you better get it out because that's how you're going to make progress. You know, you must be forthcoming and truthful with yourself first. And sometimes you got to restore the relationship with you. What's wrong with me that I need to repair before I go try to repair a relationship with someone else? And that's when you can work on that by yourself or with yourself, or if you have a big homie or a mentor or someone that you trust and you trust their judgment and they can help you see the things that you might need to work on, do that. And then you go and have a restorative circle or a restorative situation with that mother, or the mother and the father meet and they work on it and they work on what's best for the child. And mom has to set those things to the side, whatever issues that she may have or the issues that he might have to let the dad might have to lay those issues aside. But just keep that in mind, restorative practices, relationship building, restoring positive relationships, okay? Also, you have to be intentional. Organizations have to have intentional thoughts and intentional leadership. What do I mean by that? Go ahead and create a program. Get that one person designated to work on parental involvement, getting men in, and provide activities and events that will encourage men to come inside and even if you have to, that one person, or take a team of 2 or 3 to go out and meet those dads or a family or men in the community. And if you're an administrator, you got access to phone numbers. Talk with the moms, find out and figure out the family dynamics, because there might be times where mom or dad may have a restraining order or something like that, but just make sure you know the dynamics of the family situation. And if it's a positive, it's something that you can work with. If it's okay with mom or whatever, reach out to the dad and let him know that you like for him to be a part. Please come on in. We're gonna have some food. We're gonna have some activities where you can engage with your child. You can have like a daddy-daughter night. You can have, and what I mean by that, they can come in dressed up or whatever, and have dad be with the daughter and let her, raise the standard for her. She'll know what a man how needs to carry himself and what's expected. And these are some things that organizations can do to get dads involved, or get an uncle or that guy in the community who's a community leader and in good standings. He may not have any children, but he does a lot of activities to help the children. Bring him in and just be a voice, just have him be present. And they can all be together in one area, and you guys can work and build, but you have to be intentional, and you have to, be inviting. And that's things that most organizations do naturally. So just keep that in mind. And planning, like I say, have good plans, plan out the activity, plan out the dates, plan out the outcomes that you would like to have, and be clear on those outcomes. And at the end, this is the outcome. It's almost like building with the end in mind. And what do I mean by that? What's the desired outcome? The desired outcome is a positive relationship between a man and their children, or children age. What I mean by that? If there's anyone in my family from 0 to 18, I'm communicating with my family. I'm calling, I'm checking on. If I talk to mama, you all right? Things like that. And there's also people in my community, they're not my family, they're not my blood, but they're my Shiloh family, my Lee Walker Heights family. Yes, they are my family. And with that being in mind, I don't mind speaking out and reaching and being present for other children in my community, whether they're my blood child or not. I can't be everywhere at all times, but just for example, there's other men that's like me that are available to reach out into the community. So please connect with them and keep that in mind. Positive male role models in the lives of our children. And I'm talking about school-age children, also preschool age children, and really we can go even younger, from 0 to 18. If that's your niece or nephew, and you know that there's not a man involved, you pick up the phone and get in touch with the parent that is involved, the mom or the guardian, whoever, and say, can I be of any of assistance to help out? Okay. Also, just preparing for the long term. This is not an overnight situation. We didn't get here. All the men didn't leave in one night, so they're not all going to come back in one night. This process has been going on for hundreds of years, and it's led to us to have this situation today. And I'm not saying that we have to, wait 100 years to see a difference, but I'm asking you all to be patient. Be patient with yourself. Be patient with the process, because it will take some time to get the men involved. And we can't take too much time, because it's 0 to 18. At that point, they'll find other things to get into. So we got to get in there as quick as we can, with the end in mind, thinking long term. It's a marathon and not a sprint. Okay? And fourthly, it's just passing this along to our young boys. As men, we have to pass it to our sons and daughters and men in the community, and young men in the community. Pass this down. I know your dad is not in your life. That's okay. But you're going to be the man that you wanted your dad to be. You're going to be that dad. You're going to be that guy that you always wanted dad to be. You wanted dad to be at the game. You wanted dad to be at the conference. You wanted dad to be at the church service with you, and dad wasn't there. That's okay, but you're going to be there for your children. You're going to be there for your child. You're going to do all the things that you wanted from your dad. There's no judgment. There's no judgment here. But from this point, you are going to be the man that you always wanted in your life. And that's the story that we have to pass on. We got to pass it to the next generation. Take care of your child. I don't care if you and mama get along. I don't care if y'all don't like each other no more. That's okay. We ain't got no problem with that. What we need you to do is to be present. And that's when it goes back to restorative practices. If there's a relationship issue, if there's that relationship issue between mom and dad, then there has to be a restorative conference where they can sit, meet, work through what did not work through those issues, and then work on a plan child-centered and move forward with your child in mind in everything that you do. How is this going to affect my children? If I do this, how will this affect my child? We got to think of that as adults. So as an organization, you got to figure out ways to first build those relationships, okay? Build those relationships. And if they're damaged, restore those relationships. And two, you got to find a way to be intentional and a way to plan your work. Plan your work. And then also pass it along to the next generation. Our work is not done. It may take generations, but it starts today. We're going to bring dads in with open arms. We're going to be aware of the different factors. And then not only are we aware of these factors, we're not dealing with any excuses. Remove all excuses. You can't win and be making excuses at the same time. It just doesn't happen. But you can make a difference and you can be successful when you consider all factors. This is a fact. This is what happened. This is changing my relationship. This is impacting my relationship. This is what I need to do to improve that relationship. Okay? So anyway, I just want to tell you all thank you. It's been a great afternoon. And if you have any other questions or anything like that, just please drop it in the comment section, any questions or concerns or whatever. Just know it's about increasing the parental involvement, getting the dads involved. I mean, all and every dad. I mean, from the courthouse to the corner to the conference room, we're trying to bring all dads in so we can make a positive impact and make a positive difference in the future. And regardless of what's going on, you have to have those strong relationships between the mother and the father so they can build relationships with their children. Restorative practices, RP conferencing. Like I said before, check me out on YouTube, Dr. Johnson and Big Homie. Check me out on Facebook, Dr. Johnson Big Homie, on Instagram, Dr. Johnson Big Homie. And just know that we got to save our children. If we don't, no one else will. And I want to thank all the women who've raised their children alone. I want to thank all those men who've raised children that are not their own. They don't even have any kids, but they taking care of somebody else's kid. And I appreciate that. Okay? We need all men involved. There's no judgment. Please come and be a part of your child's life and leave a strong legacy. This is Dr. Johnson, Big Homie. Until next time, peace.